Everybody, it's Chris. I am here in my office. I got kind of a new setup. Hold on. Let's get that off camera. I've got kind of a new setup here. So, normally I'm talking over here, but I got this new camera, so I thought I'd try it and just kind of see. I'm going to put it down a little bit lower. Just see what you guys think. I'm not totally sold on it. It's a Logitech. It's on my top of my screen here, but if I'm here, so that in and of itself is an accomplishment. Let me tell you about the last couple days of my life. So I was in Florida for soccer. We were supposed to fly back Monday at like 6 p.m. Didn't happen because there was a snowstorm in DC. Flight got canceled, so we stayed. And I've been trying to make content, but I will tell you that Wi-Fi at hotels stinks, and it takes forever to upload things. So as a result, I have not been able to do nearly as much content as I would like. I'm sort of trying to get back to it. I decided today I would do a little bit of a chat because I haven't in a while. So I thought now would be a good time to do so. So what I would say is if you have questions, bring them on. I'm happy to answer them. We are a week into the new year. Donald Trump will be sworn in as president in 12 days. He is already taking lots of actions, like threatening Greenland that he might take it over, seize the Panama Canal. Lots going on. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat, and I will get to as many as I can. I always say, if you want to donate to me, wonderful, love to have it. That'd be great. If in the chat, if you don't or can't, that's fine too. I write on Substack every single day. That's Cillizza.substack.com. You can check it out there. It's a fair amount of the content's free. Some of it's paid. I'm trying to figure out, we're off to a very slow start, and I'm trying to figure out why that. Make sure that people can hear me. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I was just fiddling with some settings. So anyway, here we are. Let's go through some questions. Let's see. Sherry Zimmerman, welcome home, Chris. Please take a minute to honor the passing of one of the most intellectual presidents, Jimmy Carter, possibly up there with Jefferson, Madison, and Lincoln. Sherry, I made a video on Carter. I felt like everyone was going the like what Jimmy Carter meant route. I figured I would just go the like Jimmy Carter was a single-term president at a time when almost everybody was a two-term president, but I think he's a little bit underrated. So I did some fun facts in a video. But yeah, he is lying in state right now on Capitol Hill, and then the funeral is set. The state funeral is set for tomorrow. So, anytime a president passes, it's a big deal. And I think this is not insignificant given that he lived till he was 100 years old. By the way, if you have questions, throw them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. Matthew White, aren't you scheduling live streams every Friday anymore? What do you think is the right balance between deregulation and preserving the environment? Oh, Matthew, that's two very different questions. So yes, I am back to my Friday live stream schedule. No question. 1:00 on Friday, I will be here doing a live stream. I've gotten away from it over the holiday break. I just, I was traveling. I was in Texas, and I was in Florida, and we've had flight delays, and we've had all this other sorts of things. So, but I am back. So Fridays at 1 p.m. Absolutely. Yes. 1 p.m. Eastern. Absolutely. That will happen. And then I'm probably, I'm fiddling with, but I want to add another live stream every week. I've been doing it on Tuesdays typically. Yesterday I was traveling, so I figured I'd throw this one up today and try it. So we'll see. Your question, balance between deregulation and preserving the environment. It's a good one that I don't totally know the answer to at the moment. I mean, I think we are constantly in a battle between creating a set of principles that allows us to preserve the things we want to preserve, like the environment, and doing too much to get in the way of that, right? I mean, this is not a new story. We'll see. I mean, I think Trump is going to lean heavily against regulation when it comes to the environment and many other things. So we're going to see, because the Biden administration was much more pro regulation. So we're going to find out. Let's see. JW, suppose you were an independent. How would you have voted in the 3 modern impeachments? So I guess that's Clinton 1, Trump 1, and Trump 2. Ooh, I haven't really thought about that before, to be honest, JW. How would I have voted? I don't know. I don't think in those terms, really. I think that of the 3, the one that was clearly the most justified in terms of bringing it was Trump number 2. That was after January 6th. We can debate Trump number 1 and whether there was a quid pro quo with Ukraine in that phone call. And we can debate whether Bill Clinton and his sexual indiscretions with a White House intern merited impeachment. But I would say, so I don't know how I would have voted on them, but I do think the January 6th one was clearly the most sort of serious and problematic, followed by I don't really know. The other 2 sort of blend for me. Let's see. Dan W., what are you most interested about in the final days of the Biden presidency, Trump transition? Good question. Dan, I'm really interested in sort of Biden is not doing a lot in terms of publicly trying to tout his legacy. At least right now, he gave an interview to Susan Page at USA Today that ran today. It was like an hour-long interview. I think he gave it over the weekend, but it ran today. But beyond that, he's not doing, we haven't really seen like a post-election press conference. I don't know if he's going to do a press conference before he winds up, before he finishes his term. Like, it's kind of weird that he's not doing more. I mean, I don't totally know why, but I do think it's a little strange. So I'm interested in that. The Trump transition, well, let's see how many of his cabinet secretaries get confirmed and how many don't make it. I mean, I'm intrigued by that for sure. Is this a moment where he's going to get Pete Hegseth and get Tulsi Gabbard? I think those are at least a possibility now, in a way that they weren't before. So we'll see. Let's see. Robert New York, did you see Biden fall asleep yesterday? No, I don't know if he fell asleep, but I didn't see it either way, Robert, because I was in travel hell at the Tampa International Airport, which is a terrible and terribly organized airport. You have to like go downstairs to check your bags in, but it's not made totally clear. Not my favorite airport in the world. But no, I did not see that. Let's see. Paul Olson, will all the issues they want to stuff into that big, beautiful bill actually pass muster under reconciliation? Well, Paul, to your point, that's a decision that the parliamentarian will make, who is not a Republican or a Democrat, although they are appointed, I believe, by Republicans and Democrats. Anyway, that's a decision they'll make, whether it fits under, whether it can be considered reconciliation. I do think the theory of the case is that they want to do one big bill because they figure that if they do piecemeal bills, it's going to be hard to pass the House, because on any one bill in the House, there's going to be, a couple Republicans who are like, I don't want to do that for my own personal political reasons. And that would mean it wouldn't pass. I think the theory that Mike Johnson has is like, with such a small majority, what we need is put everything together so that it's really, really, really hard for people to vote against the big bill, whereas they could vote against at least one or a couple of the sort of smaller bills. Let's see. Austin Kruger, what are your thoughts about the coverage of Trump's threats to Canada, Greenland, and Panama? I feel like there's a huge rush of Trumpnesia. Why is the media normalizing this? I don't think the media is normalizing this. I mean, it seems to me that like it's being covered the way it should be covered, which is like Donald Trump is saying these things. Donald Trump refused yesterday at his press conference at Mar-a-Lago to rule out military force to get Greenland to be part of the US and to get the control of the Panama Canal back. Like, I mean, we're reporting on those things. I think that that's appropriate. One thing I will say though is Austin is I I'm I don't know why people are surprised by all of this. Like, it seems to me that we kind of knew what Donald Trump was going to do. Now, I'm not saying we knew he was going to try to like annex Greenland, although he did say he was interested in it in his first term. But we did have a sense of sort of who Trump is. I mean, in 2016, you could have said, well, I voted for Trump because it was like a little bit different. And, I wanted a change I wanted something a little different, blah, blah, blah. Sure. In 2024, like if you voted for Trump, you knew what you were voting for, right? There was no hiding of the ball. So in some ways, it's amazing to me that people are as surprised that he's doing the things he's doing, because like, this is kind of his MO. Like, I don't know that we should be surprised by any of this. But I think the coverage has been, I mean, from my viewpoint, the coverage has been totally fine. Like, I don't see any major issues with it just yet. Pocket Watch, thank you for your donation. And you say, welcome back. Do I need a 2008 American Political Almanac? Yes, I need a 2008 Almanac of American Politics. Absolutely. If you have one, CILLIZZAC @gmail.com. Send it to me. And Pocket Watch, thank you for the donation. Let's see. Robert New York, don't you answer our questions on Fridays? I do, Robert, but I thought I would throw a quick one in today. I like live streams. I think what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to continue to do the Friday one every week. And I'm kind of experimenting, honestly, like with what's good to do the other one. I want to do 2 a week, ideally. And I'm sort of trying to figure out like, okay, what's a good way to do, or a time to do the second one? And I don't know if I should make it dependent on like a big news event. Like, oh, the Carter funeral is tomorrow and do something there, or whether it should just be more topical and just time oriented, like just do it at a certain time. And I don't totally know the answer to that yet. So I am definitely will be doing every Friday. I will be answering your questions on a live stream. No question. But I'm trying to figure out where that other live stream of the week should land. You snooze, you news. Will Jared Kushner be a big part of the new administration? He will not be. Jared Kushner and his wife, Ivanka Trump, are very uninterested in coming back to Washington for the second Trump term. Both of them obviously served in the administration in the first term in a way Eric Trump and Don Jr. never did. And I think they did not have a positive experience, I guess is the way to say that. They did not enjoy their time there. It got in the way of, I think, a lot of their friends and social acquaintances were less than thrilled at how the Trump administration acted. It got in the way of Jared and Ivanka's business interests at some level, although I know people will point out that Jared Kushner's made a lot of money since serving in the administration. But no, they're not coming back. They will continue to sort of do their own thing. By the way, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I would love to answer them. So let me know. I'm trying to work through them slowly but surely. Actual news. Do you think Trump will actually cut defense spending and cap credit card interest rates at 10%? I don't know about cutting. I don't know about cutting defense spending. Like, that is it feels like such a third rail for a Republican to say, like, we need to rein in our defense spending. I mean, look, the defense budget is absolutely vast. It's probably as big, or if not bigger, than all the other cabinet department budgets combined. Will Trump do that? I don't know. As for capping credit card interest rates at 10%, that is sort of a populist move. It's also the government putting its hand on private industry, which Republicans, at least in the pre-Trump era, did not like doing. So I don't know. I think it's probably that capping interest rates is probably more likely than cutting spending in defense. I guess that's what I say. Paul Robinson, Paul, thank you, my friend. Paul says Happy New Year, and I say Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to everybody. That is so nice, Paul. Thanks for the donation. Paul Olson A different Paul. Paul Olson says Trump says goofy things and people brush it off as Trump being Trump. If Biden suggested buying Greenland, they would hastily ship him off to an asylum. So I think there's a lot of truth there, Paul. I don't know about the asylum part, but there's definitely truth in that. I think Trump has defined down normality as it relates to him. Even in 2016, 2017, 2018, I remember when he proposed the whole buying Greenland thing, everyone was like, this is insane. And now they're like, well, so yes, I mean, there is sort of an element. The thing I always compare it to with Trump is, let's say you play a basketball game with refs rather. And your strategy is that you're going to foul the other team as much as possible in trying to steal the ball in the first 5 minutes. And in so doing, what you are going to do is force the referees to either call a foul on you every single play and foul your whole team out, or define down the definition of a foul. Trump has sort of done that, I think. Now, the other piece, in that I mentioned this a little bit earlier, I don't know if people were on, but I mentioned a little earlier, people voted for radical different approaches to government in 2024. Like, that's what Trump was promising. He was promising people doing things really, 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 really differently. Like, we need to think totally differently. We need to drain the swamp, whatever. But my point is, like, given that, and given that people voted for it, I just don't think we should be surprised that he's doing some of the things he's doing even before he gets into office. It's kind of what people voted for. I know people didn't vote that we annex Greenland or call it the Gulf of America rather than the Gulf of Mexico, but they did vote for sort of radical reinvention of what politics can and should do. I think that's significant, and why we shouldn't be terribly surprised he's doing what he's doing. Dwight Baldwin. Dwight, thank you so much for the donation. Dwight says this: your video about fact checking neglected to mention that so many of the fact checking sites were about narrative checking, which is why people lost faith in them. Yeah. So I think Dwight, rather, first of all, thank you for your donation. Much appreciated. I would say that what people want now, like fair-minded, good people, what they want now is they want less me or any mainstream media outlet or Facebook or X saying this is false, period. What they want is like, here are the facts that we know, and you make up your own mind. Now, I get that. I mean, I do think there's a little bit of danger there, and it's like people can ignore the facts that are inconvenient to them. But I do think that there is a element of like, look, you tell me the facts and I'll make my mind up. I don't need you to make my mind up for me. So yeah, I do think there's some truth in that, Paul. Let's see. Just scrolling down. Gamer Pros 1, hey, with the decline of traditional media, especially newspapers, and the growth of independent media, do you have concerns that longer-term investigations will not be viable economically? Man, that is a really smart question. So for people who don't know a ton about journalism, the least cost-effective part of journalism is investigative journalism. And the reason for that is because it takes a long time, number one. Like, it's hard to break a gigantically in-depth story about a scandal or something that's being covered up in a day. And lots of the roads that an investigative reporter walks down wind up being dead ends. So it's like, you go down a lot. Like, if I want to write about Matt Gaetz running for governor of Florida, I just write it up and publish it, right? But because I've got a quote from him saying I'm thinking about it. But if there's some gigantic corporate scandal that I've unearthed, or think I've unearthed, and then I do some more digging. It's like, oh, actually, this isn't really a scandal. It was like a minor malfunction, and I shut that down. Well, I don't write anything on that. I don't say anything about it, and I wind up, now I go on to the next thing. So it's really hard to support investigative journalism in the traditional business model for media. Will they fix that? I don't know how. Because it takes a long time and lots of the roads you go down are dead ends. So I worry about that. I hope that a bunch of investigative journalistic places will follow like ProPublica's lead, where it's privately funded, but they're transparent about where their donors come from. I think that would be a good thing, but you have nailed it as it relates to how hard it is. Pocket Watch says, I got you covered for the '08 America Political Almanac. We'll email this afternoon. Thank you so much. You rock. Brett Green, do you think Biden should pre-pardon people? We know if he does it, Trump will. Brett, I do not think he should. I think it's a mistake, not just because, yes, it will open Pandora's box and Trump would do it. Trump might do it anyway, whether Biden did or not. But I just don't like if you are pre-pardoning someone, I think for the vast majority of the country, they are going to assume that that person was guilty of something. So let's say Biden pre-pardons Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, two former Republican elected officials, House members who have been two of the most vocal people against Donald Trump for years. Like, I don't think either one of them has done anything wrong, like that merits their need to be pardoned. But I can tell you that lots and lots of people will look at that and be like, why are they being pardoned? Did they do something wrong? So I think it's a mistake. I know Biden today said in his interview that came out on USA Today said he is considering pre-pardons. I think that would be a gigantic mistake. It's like pre-crime. Didn't we learn from, what is that movie? With the precogs and Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell, didn't we learn that pre-crime and pre-pardon doesn't work? What is that movie called? I love that movie. Mike Witt, Mike, thank you for the donation as always. Happy New Year, Chris. Are you going to be in Washington for the inauguration? I'm a proud never Trumper, so won't be watching TV that day. LOL. Yes, I will be. Now, Mike, honestly, I don't know that I'm going to tromp down to the Capitol so that I can watch it in person. It's usually really cold. I absolutely will watch it on TV. I absolutely will go through Trump's speech and pick out lines that I think you need to see. I'll do a breakdown video here on YouTube. So I will handle that for you. You don't need to worry about it. John Suda. John, thanks for the donation. John said, if people just want the facts, my words, why is fact-finding journalism the backbone of journalism, your words again, dying, and why are opinionated talk shows thriving? Well, John, you have rightly pointed out a contradiction. I guess, let me think about it this way. I don't know that people just want the facts. I guess I was trying to figure out what do people want when it comes to fact checking in particular, as opposed to journalism more broadly. And I don't think people want I don't think the broad swath of people. There are some people, but I don't think the majority of people want the Washington Post fact checker 3 or 4 or 1 or 0 Pinocchios. I think community notes is appealing to a lot of people because it's here is a link to a study that says this tweet is wrong. Now, the issue I have there is there's a lot of studies. There might be a study that shows that this tweet was in fact right. I think we are moving toward you are entitled to your own facts kind of world, which I think is bad. Why is fact-finding journalism dying? More broadly, I mean, I think because it costs too much. Number one, because people do want some element of their own facts. They want to pick and choose the facts they believe in, which is not exactly how facts work, but I think that's what they want to do. And then they don't really want to support and pay for news gathering operations that are gathering facts that they don't agree with. But you're right, John. It's complicated. I'm not totally explaining myself super well. Sly Fox, $2 billion certainly helps Jared Kushner stay away from the administration. LOL. Yes, it does. Dr. Always First, what do you make of how close Charlie Kirk and Turning Point have become to MAGA for Trump's second term? Well, Charlie Kirk's a businessman, right? And he understands that Donald Trump is going to be president. So the closer he gets to him, the better for him. So that does not surprise me. Dan W., you mentioned Biden not doing much press. How does his final days compare to other presidents, excluding Trump's final days? I remember Obama doing a big speech in Chicago. So Dan, I'll write more about this and talk more. I'll write more about it in my Substack. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Substack, chriscillizza.substack.com. I'll also talk more about it here in a video that I sort of dedicate to the final days of Biden. And so I'll do a little more in-depth research before then. But off the top of my head, I would say most presidents have sort of a valedictory press conference where they take questions for an hour and a half from the media about all the things that they've accomplished. A lot of presidents like doing this. They like talking about themselves. They like talking about what they've done. And yes, they usually give at least one speech that winds up being a kind of final chapter or a closing of the book. I don't know if Biden's doing either of those things, to be totally candid. So we'll see. But he is not going the traditional route. Thomas Davenport says 2 live streams a week, please. Yes. So again, for people just tuning in, that is my plan. There will always be a live stream on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time where I take your questions that looks like this. The issue, the thing I'm trying to think about is what else should I do? I want to do another live thing every week. Do I make it an interview? Do I make it a news sort of hinged live stream? Like something happens in the news, I immediately go live. I mean, that obviously can work, but does something happen every single week? Don't know. But yes, 2 makes sense. Aldo Marino, looking into the crystal ball, does Trump make it to the end of his term without the drop off the mental precipice like we saw in Biden? Man, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that Donald Trump will be 82 years old in his final year in office. He would be the oldest person ever to serve as president if he makes it that long. I don't know. But to me, to your second point, it does seem clear that there has been a drop off in terms of Biden, and I don't know when exactly that happened, to be totally honest. Did it happen over the summer when we saw it with the debate? Did it happen before then? I don't totally know, but it seems like there's been a drop off. Paul Olson says, don't forget to click the like thumb. Yes, click the like thumb. Do it for the algorithm. Let's see. Use News says, as an independent, I love calling it the Gulf of America. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to be an unpopular thing, to be totally honest. DJ Sumisu, do Americans really think Canadians wouldn't fight for their country? Irish-born Canadian here, and I can definitely see a strong resistance, both political and armed, if anything happens. So you're saying if Trump makes good on the, like, we're just going to turn Canada into a state. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Americans think that much about Canada. I don't mean to be insulting. I just think that's a fact. So it's like, do people actually think Donald Trump is going to invade Canada? No, I don't think they do, at least not yet. I mean, I know he's talking about 51st state and Governor Justin Trudeau and all that stuff, but I don't think that's the case. And I think, honestly, if people did think about it, they'd be like, oh, our military is more powerful than Canada. We'll just go in there and kick butt. So, Michael McAlpine, the movie I was talking about is Minority Report. Yes. So James Anderton, I think is Tom Cruise's character's name. And Colin Farrell's like the cop sent to investigate the pre-COGS, pre-crime unit. And who else is in that? It's a great movie. If you have not seen it, you need to watch it. Great movie. Many people noted that I was talking about Minority Report. Thank you very much. Catherine Beach says, Happy New Year, Chris. Catherine, Happy New Year to you. Politics past and present. Do you think Democrats should move on from Chuck Schumer? That's a good question. I assume you mean as Democratic leader. He's in his late 60s. He's not ancient. He raises a ton of money. I think he's a pretty good party strategist. He's very involved in the campaigns. It's sort of like, who do they replace him with? Like, is there someone in the Senate Democratic caucus who you think would be much better? I mean, I'm super interested if you think there is. But I think part of the problem is like, well, Schumer has the job. He raises a bunch of money. He works the members. He does tons of press. So it's like, it's hard to just push him out if you don't have a reason for it. Actually News. Love your videos, Chris. Thank you. That's so kind. Let's see. Dr. Always First. I should have clarified about Charlie Kirk. I meant the impact of mobilizing younger voters, young men in particular, for the next phase of MAGA now that Trump can't run again. Do they back fans? The central question. Can the Trump coalition, which is 1 in 3 non-white voters he won, young men he won, the blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin he won, is that a replicable coalition? Like, can J.D. Vance do that if he is the nominee in 2028? Or is that coalition that I just talked about, especially young men, unique to Trump? And honestly, I don't know the answer to that. And I don't, anybody who says they do know the answer is lying to you, because we just don't know yet. Let's see. Gareth 2020. What do you think of Trump talking about banning wind farms from being built in the U.S.? Well, Gareth, he has hated windmills for a really long time. I think it goes back to, they put a windmill farm off the coast of Scotland, I think near Turnberry, the course that he bought. And he sort of hated windmills ever since then. And, in 2015, he talked about windmills, in 2016 during his presidency, and now. So it's like, It would not surprise me if he tried to ban wind farms. I went through his press conference from Mar-a-Lago yesterday. I went through it line by line. Man, he spent a long time talking about the wind and how terrible windmills are in that press conference. So I guess I would not be super surprised. JW, you could run a weekly poll and discuss the results during the Tuesday live stream along with the Q&A session. So how, JW, how would I run a poll like that? Like on YouTube? I mean, I'm just either put it in the comments or email me, cillizzac@gmail.com. That's a good idea. John Suda, question, what do Americans think of Canada? Answer, they don't. Tough but fair. Rusty, I'm wondering where all this expansionist talk came from. It's very worrying. Well, I mean, remember, Donald Trump talked about annexing or buying Greenland in his first term as president. So that's not new. I think that he views it as kind of like, America's the biggest, toughest guy on the block, and we should take what we want. I mean, I really do think he views the world that way. And so I don't think we should be surprised by the expansionist talk. Paul Olson, let's say Trump announces, I will run for a third term in 2028. Is fact-checking appropriate? Well, I mean, the Constitution bans him from doing so. So I think it would be very useful to point that out. I mean, I'm not saying that will, if he did announce that he was running for a third term in 2028, I'm not sure saying, but the Constitution would really stop him from doing so, because he probably would have already thought of that. But yeah, I think we probably should do that. Billy D and the Hoodoos. Chuck Schumer is like 75. All right. I said he was in his late 60s. It's time to do the favorite game here for me, which is how old is this person now? I'm going to say 68. Oh, he's 74. Well said. So he's way older than I thought he was. So yeah, 74. So, okay. Yeah. Again, who would that person be though? Who's the next person? But good job, Billy D. Rich G, Chris, I'm considering leasing a Tesla Model Y. Would this be a decision that you would endorse? And can you just share a quick experience with your Tesla? Well, I've had it for 5.5 years. I love it. I know how people feel about Elon, good and bad. I'm not getting into that. It's really fun driving. I have a Model 3, not a Model Y, but man, I love it. I can't recommend it more highly, and I'm not a car guy. So anyway, let's see. Brett Green, thoughts on the 2026 Senate races? I think that because the map in 2026 isn't as bad for Democrats as it was in 2024, Democrats are kind of getting over their skis in terms of like the ability to win the majority back. So Republicans have a 3-seat majority right now with really in truth, Democrats would need to pick up 4 seats because J.D. Vance is the president of the Senate and will break ties. So really they need a 4-seat pickup. I do not see that happening. Yes, Tom Tillis in North Carolina is potentially vulnerable. Yes, Susan Collins in Maine is, I guess, potentially vulnerable. But like beyond that, I don't see much. And I don't think either of those people are like definitely going to lose. And then on the Democratic side, John Ossoff in Georgia is probably the most endangered incumbent in the country, Republican or Democrat. Gary Peters in Michigan is going to have a real race. Maybe Jeanne Shaheen has a real race in New Hampshire. And then we got to see where retirement shake out. So history suggests some of these senators will retire. Are any of them in swing districts, in swing states? Does their retirement in a state cause the district to be more competitive? But right now, I think, Democrats gain a seat, Republicans gain a seat or two. Would not surprise me, but I don't think Republicans are losing the majority in 2026. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you for the donation. Mike says, did you watch Netflix Monday Night Raw debut? I did not because I was in travel hell. But I am super psyched that WWE is on Netflix and I'm going to go through back catalog stuff as well as be watching Raw. So thank you for the question. Love it. Mark a lot. Wide angle Chris somehow looks presidential. Yes. So this is a Logitech wide angle cam. I don't know if it makes me look presidential. Do you guys like this view? I was thinking of doing this view for the live streams and my just regular camera on my MacBook for the daily videos, or do you like this view for all the videos, or this view over here for all the videos with my bookshelf behind me? I don't know. Just tell me what you think. Maxwell Finer, is Trump aware that adding Canada as a state would probably add a ton of Democrats to the House Senate? Again, it's not going to happen. It's not happening. But no, of course he's not thinking that through, but that's a great point that he should think through. John Suda, are we deeper into a post-truth alternative facts era now? Yes. No question. I think the combo of big tech companies trying to get in better with Trump and not piss off their shareholders, combined with big media companies just losing money hand over fist or shrinking staff hand over fist, that we're in a place where there's going to be a real dearth of capital T truth and capital F facts. JW says you can create polls on your YouTube channel and they appear in the community tab. Okay, I need to use the community tab more, JW. So thank you for that reminder. I'll check it out. Barnaby Jones. Biden's legacy is the worst president of our lifetime. At least you have competition for worst journalist as long as little Brian Stelter is still around. 3 laughing, crying emojis. All right, man. You do you. Brad Ramsey. Why won't the media just report on the things Trump does as opposed to what Trump's BS is about? They fall for his bait every damn time. Brad, I think that's a fair criticism. I will say, though, that a lot of the times the stuff he does is stuff he's previewed by saying it, right? It's not as though he says things that are totally different from what he does. And right now, he's not in office, so he can't do anything really that will have sort of binding implications. So it's all just what he says. And given his sort of prominence and demonstrated ability to move markets and all that sort of stuff, I don't think we can just ignore what he's saying right now. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't think it's a unfair criticism, but I also think that it's not that simple. Let's see. Spaceman Swift. Hey, Chris, what do you think of Zelensky's interview with Tom Friedman? Do you think Zelensky is making headway to make Trump rethink his take on the Ukraine war? I did not see Zelensky's interview with Tom Friedman. I will check it out. Do I think Zelensky is making headway with Trump? No, not really. Remember, I think Trump is going to be largely governed by public opinion on this. And if you look at public opinion on supporting Ukraine financially and otherwise, it's starting to fade with the American public the longer this war goes on. So, I would feel better if I was Zelensky. I would have felt better if Kamala Harris won. With Trump winning, I think it's anybody's ball game. John Suda says this view is way better. Okay, cool. Mike Witt says that chair looks comfortable. It does. D. Wilson says 95 says this is a better view. Catherine Bleach, new view is fun. I like wall color and chair and all. Cool. Aldo Marino, new view is gold. Keep for the live stream, but do the other cam for daily. David Johnson, Chris, you have to keep your bookshelf in your videos. Yeah, I know. So that's why I was thinking of doing the live stream this way and then shooting the other videos that way, even though this will be on a Logitech camera and that will be on just my MacBook Pro camera. You snooze, you news. Your video right now is good color and lighting. If you sit off center or frame differently, it'll be more visually interesting. Yeah, like I could kind of, angle over there a little bit, right? And get some of the bookshelf, just move my monitor a little bit. I can totally do that. So maybe that's what'll work. Actually news, for the record, you are a much better journalist than Brian Stelter. Brian Stelter is a really good journalist. I know him. He's a good guy. He works super hard. Let's see. Dan W. Took my 6-year-old to a live WWE event over the holidays. It was awesome. Get on board, people. I totally agree. Yeah, man, it's super fun, right? And way to start them young. Dewey B. As a Canadian, it is ironic to me that Trump is musing at annexing Canada as the 51st state before Puerto Rico, which I believe actually wants to be the 51st state. Yes, that's very true. Politics past and present. In terms of Schumer replacements, I was thinking of Chris Murphy of New Jersey or John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. Thoughts? Murphy, I don't think Fetterman. I think Fetterman might run nationally, but I don't think he wants to be Democratic Senate leader. Murphy is a possibility, though I also keep an eye on Murphy as a potential presidential candidate. The guy I think could be leader is Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. He's got an interesting sort of profile. He's young enough. He's not super young, but he's young enough. And then there's a question of like, what women in the Democratic caucus could do it. Does Amy Klobuchar decide like she's done running for president and she wants to run for leader? Kirsten Gillibrand from New York is going to head up the Democratic campaign arm this election cycle, which is kind of like a grooming, typical step that you would take before trying to be the next leader. So maybe it's her. Let's see. Brett Green, what are your thoughts on John Fetterman leaning more to the right over the last year? Well, he represents a state that Donald Trump won in Pennsylvania. He represents a state where he saw Bob Casey Jr., his Democratic colleague in the Senate, lose in November. So I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall a little bit. I also think he's more of a guy who just is a deal maker, like I don't think he's super partisan naturally. He was a mayor before becoming a senator. So I think he's more in that chief executive mindset of like, okay, well, what can we get done together as opposed to what do we disagree on? So, I think he's a super intriguing guy at the moment. Let's see. Paul Olson, my third term comment was meant to represent the unchallenged, unfact-checked approach, which says, just report what he says. There's a point where assertive fact-checking is vital. Don't disagree. Matthew White, I would suggest using this setup for your daily videos. It looks much more sophisticated. Well, I'm nothing if not sophisticated. Rich G, honestly, these are the best live streams. Your content is fantastic. Really appreciate your independent media. Thank you, Rich. That is so kind. All right. I guess I will wrap now. Just remember, sorry, one more. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you for the donation. What happened to Georgia in the playoffs, Chris? LOL. Sorry, had to. Go Ohio State. What do you think of Kamala's future is after Inauguration Day? I don't know, Mike. Yeah, by the way, I picked Georgia before Carson Beck got hurt. That had a huge impact. As for Kamala, I think she would be smartest to run for governor of California in 2026. I think that's a winnable race for her. I think it would set her up to run for president down the line, not in 2028, but down the line. So I don't know. I think she thinks, at least some part of her thinks, she should run for president in 2028. I'm skeptical she would win that race. Who knows? But I'm skeptical. I would run for governor if I were her. But you snooze. Stop posting in 240p. You snooze. I think I solved that. I'm doing these videos on this Logitech that's recording at super high definition. So I think I stopped with the 240p. Zachary McGurk, which member of Congress do you think would be the most likely to switch parties? Let me think about that, Zach, because that's kind of intriguing, particularly with the Republican majority as small as it is in the House, and to a lesser extent the Senate. Party switching would be interesting. But the two obvious ones in the Senate were Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, and they're both out of Congress now. So, and I don't think people like Shelley Moore Capito, who's pretty moderate, I don't think she's going to become a Democrat because she's a Republican in West Virginia, which makes her popular. Lisa Murkowski, maybe. Collins, she's been a Republican since a long decades. I don't think she's going to leave. Anyway, all right, that's all I got for today. Remember, Friday we will do this 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'll put a notification in there. JW, to your point, I will see about starting a poll and seeing how people react to it, and then maybe making that the idea. If you have an idea for what the second live stream of the week will be. So Friday will be a look back at what happened in the week and a look forward to what's going to happen. But let's say we did one Tuesday. What should that look like? If you have ideas, let me know. And everybody do take care, and I will check you out soon. Make sure you are subscribing to this channel, liking these videos, commenting on these videos, and telling your friends about this channel. We're building, people. Take care.